And I said, oh, okay, okay. I said, how about UFOs? And she looked at me real funny, didn't say a word. Her eyes were just glaring. Well, we parted, and I said, I'll tell you what, why don't we meet for breakfast or something in the morning? And I told her where, and I guess she looked it up. But we met for breakfast that morning. We went out for a look at the beach, some of the other things in town there. And she was kind of quiet, but she was just kind of weird. It was just really weird. I couldn't draw the connection, and that night, that's when I told you I saw that brown rubber hose, and then I regressed, and I found out that they were walking me back and forth with this bright light. I believe she was responsible for all that. One of the big things she said, I got some notes on her that I can't remember everything. I got 2 pages of notes that I made on what she said, but she said she needed a baby. She wanted a baby. And I said, oh, really? I said, are you married? She goes, no. And then she said she was from Japan. And you know that place is crowded. You know, especially Tokyo and the big cities are very crowded.
Oh,
well, we
yeah.
went to this breakfast place. And there was only about 35 people in there. She stood there and she said, all these humans. And I thought, well, you've been to a place that's got a lot more humans than this. So she let out some little clues that she just wasn't all there. She didn't know anything about credit cards. I had to tell her, I said, did you leave your credit card at the motel room? And she just ate, I guess, biscuits or whatever for breakfast. And we went up on this airport lookout, and then there was an older Japanese guy that he had a lot of, like, cameras and equipment, like he's a tourist. He walked right beside us, and he looked over at me, and he looked over at her. And I told her, I said, why don't you say hi to him? He's from Japan. She goes, no, we don't say hi to each other in public like this. I said, that's weird. But I guess she parted ways. We parted ways after I had a little lunch, but she had dirty blue jeans on from the night before. And, you know, most women don't wear dirty clothes the next day. And her clothes were muddy and dirty from the day before. And I noticed she didn't have any makeup. She didn't know how to really be like a woman, I don't think. And then that was it. She left the next day, but everything come to a conclusion. It was March 17th on St. Patrick's Day. It was really nice in Illinois. And I was out on the porch with my cousin. Well, they come out of nowhere, and they walked up about 150 feet away from my porch. They walked up, and the woman, she stood just like this gal. I got pictures of her if you're ever interested in me sending you pictures.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Yeah, I got pictures of her. I wanted to take a lot of pictures of her. I did that. She allowed me to do that. But she stayed down the road with her arms crossed like she normally stood when I saw her in Sedona 6 months earlier. These 2 young Japanese guys come up, and they asked where someplace was at, and I kind of told them, and that was my last words. After that, I was dumbed down. They had a little brown satchel. It was actually a brown thing that I kept some notes and stuff in. And they had that on the outside of my house, and they were looking in it, and they were looking at me. And they apparently dumbed us down, got in my house, looked at my notes that I was keeping on, I guess, maybe her. Hiroko was her name. That's what she said. But then when they walked away, I noticed them walking away when they got to the street in front of my house, but my cousin didn't notice them until they were all the way up to the stop sign near the highway. And we looked at them again, and they were gone, just disappeared. They didn't walk up or down the highway. We were dumbed down. I didn't say a word. I was going to ask if that was Hiroko, and I didn't get a chance to say it because something told me not to. So that's what I mean. The story wasn't complete until she come to my house 6 months later, and that's why, that's what convinced me that something happened. I would have, if it was just the Sedona incident for a day or so, I probably would have thought, I would have scratched my head, okay. But when she showed up at my house 6 months later and dumbed us down, and even my cousin got scared to death, and he took off running, that showed me that something was to all this.
Well, it would make me wonder what is going on. How would she know where you lived? That's number one. So they knew where you lived. And the other thing I find, where, unless you lived in the Amazon, right? Or out in the jungles somewhere else, you would know what a credit card is, and especially in Japan. I mean, they max their cards out like you wouldn't believe, even compared to the Americans. So that would be a dead giveaway. Something, it was up. I got a funny feeling she probably didn't even have any money at all. I bet. I want to bet.
She had a little black purse. It was kind of like a little round, elongated, dirty little purse. I don't think she didn't have any money. I don't think whatever she had in there was probably, there's a little, I can tell you what a dumbed down unit looks like. It's like a little black flashlight. It's probably about, I'd say about an inch or so in diameter, and it's probably about 3 or so inches long. You can hold it in your hands, and you don't even know they got it, and they just turn it on you. And that's what shoots the magnetic energy at you. It makes you feel a little woozy in your stomach. I've been hit by it knowing what it feels like. It makes you kind of, like you're getting quick indigestion, and you feel your head kind of spinning, and then you're blank. Anything that goes on, it's okay. Everything's fine. That was the most, I think, mind-bending thing that I think I've been through, outside of seeing these UFOs. And I'll get to the largest one that I saw, and my mom and 2 brothers saw it too, because it was just right down the street. It was about 8:30 in the evening. It was on April 9th. It was only about 2 weeks after I saw this Hiroko girl. This craft was a huge triangle. It was kind of cloudy, getting ready to rain. This craft was only flying about maybe 60 feet high. It come over on the other side of the road. It hit the tree on the other side of the road. I was right under it. I saw everything under it. It looked like a big vent in the middle. It was making a hissing sound. It looked like a barbecue grill or whatever. And then there was a red light in the back of it. And then there was 2 big bright lights on the back corner of the triangle. And in front, in which was very odd, and I don't think anybody's ever noticed this about these large triangles, it had a big glass globe that come down from the other light that was in front. It was a big one of these old glass, you ever seen one of these old glass globes that you screw on back in the 40s, 50s?
Oh, yeah.
That's what it looked like. It looked like a big glass globe, about 15 feet long and maybe about 10 feet wide, and it was actually taking the place of the bright lights in the front. So I was curious about it. I heard a hissing and a buzzing sound, and it wasn't real loud, but I could feel the buzzing and hissing when it come over me. And
I got to ask you a question. I've had a lot of reports that these triangles are huge. I've heard everything from, bigger than a house all the way up to almost the size of a Walmart store. How big was this?
Okay, this covered, actually, my mom said it went over her house too. She was actually 2-3 houses down from me. So it covered a 6-house range, almost the whole street that we lived on. That's how big it was. But I was under the center. She must have been over one wing of it. And she said the next couple of days her plants were dying in the front yard. And so I said, well, I didn't know that. I know the treetop on the other side died where it touched it when I saw it. But this thing was, actually huge. It covered a whole 6 houses long, I'd say. It was just huge. And it was flying so low, I knew it couldn't have been one of ours. Most of the ones all the ones that I've seen, I know it's not one of ours. I think I've seen some of ours high up. They don't practice over neighborhoods. Our military don't. So they don't bring these newfangled aircraft over our neighborhoods.
No, they wouldn't even bring it over, any residential area where they would be seen. Now, my friend who passed away, Art Bell, he talked about him and Lamone, his wife, originally back, I think in the early 90s, he saw one. And he described it, as a quiet, silent, triangle that just kind of floated by with no sound. Now, I knew Art. We were friends. I've talked to him about it numerous times off the air, and he was convinced it was nothing from Area 51 at all.
Right, yeah. Yeah, this wasn't either. This wouldn't be flying that low. As huge as it is, it would not be flying that low. And my brothers and my mom saw it, and she was about 87 at the time when we saw that, and she was afraid of it. She looked out the door at it, but she was afraid to go outside. She said she was afraid it was going to take her. I said, no, it wouldn't. I said, believe me, it didn't take me, and I was right under it. And it just flew right off, and then I turned and looked around the house, and it was just gone.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from a couple people have claimed that they saw one, describing what you saw, that it was there, and then the next second it was like gone. Maybe they have a cloaking device. I don't know. I had one scientist on my show here, Dave, back about I think 7 months ago, who claims that when they come into our atmosphere, they superheat, and then when they superheat, they can't cloak for a short period of time. That's also, UFOs like that have been sighted coming out of lakes, out of the ocean. How can I say this? That, maybe they have to cool down somewhere for a short period of time for they can, do whatever they have to do.
The hissing and buzzing sound I heard was coming from that big vent. The vent must have been about 20 feet wide, and it was just like hissing. It was kind of like, I guess, letting off heat, like you're saying, that maybe it was just trying to get the heat off. But I've never heard of anybody talking about those big glass globes that come down, and what are they for? I've never heard anybody talk about them, but I saw it, and I know I saw it.
You're not the only one, because I had a guest on, a man and wife, back 3-4 months ago that claimed that they saw one. They're the ones that claimed it was almost the size of a Walmart, the smaller Walmart stores. They claimed the globe issue on it too. That's one of the things they brought up on it.
That's good. I want to make sure that I'm seeing these things, and I know I saw it, and I know my family saw the craft itself, but they didn't see the underbelly like I did. I was standing right in the driveway when it went over, and it was a shocker. But I've been shocked before, like I said, at 14, and then I saw another one at the refinery. Then I saw another one coming south on 55. I saw a bright light up about 2 or 3 miles ahead of me on the highway, and I thought it was one of the street lights. But the more I moved towards it, I was going south, it was coming north. It turned out to be a light that was moving. I thought it was a helicopter at first, but then it was moving too fast. I slowed down. This thing come right over me. It was a smaller saucer. It had like a pie. Had 4 pie panels in it, and they looked like they were glass, but they were lit with a white light. And in the center was a large circle, dark circle. It flew right over me. And that's when I started thinking, why me? Why are they following me? I get that impression. What is, that's why I'm trying to figure it out. You asked me what drives me to try to figure this out. Why have I seen these things, especially 5 of them up close? And why have I ran into strange people? Why have I been abducted electrically, almost shocked, and 3 times with a shocking mechanism? Lord knows how many times I've been just softly put down while I was sleeping and taken away. So I don't know how many times that could be. I just know I regress some of these dreams. I regress some real vivid dreams that told me things too. Like I said, the USS Nimitz. So this was back in '86. I saw a jet crash on it, and I told people about it about a week before it happened, and it come true. So apparently they've been messing with my mind even back in '86. I had a vivid dream about me going to the mill that my dad worked at. I went to catch up with him, and I saw everything in colors, and I was going through the man list, these stairs that moved,